let's all breathe and release that. Be comfortable in your seat, whatever that means to you. And take these couple of moments to focus on being right here, right now. We know there's lots going on in all of our lives, and I'm sure we all have things to do later today, this evening, tomorrow. But right now, we get to be just here. And if we take these words of Karen Drucker, I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. And I am so grateful for all that I am. And I want each of you to say that to yourselves right now. I am so grateful for all that I am. And now you can say it out loud if you wish with me. I am so grateful for all that I am. And we are all so grateful for what each of us is. So let's take that thought into silence for a minute or two. As we return to this place and time, we bring with us the peace of the place where we just were. And we know that that peace is accessible anytime we want to go there. And each of us knows that we are peace. And for that, we are truly grateful. And with that, we say, Amen. Amen. Here we are. So good morning.
Good morning.
Again. Our talk this morning, the power of purposeful prayer. Did all of you learn to pray when you were a kid, in whatever faith that you were in? I learned to listen to the memorized prayers of my parents before and after meals. I learned to listen to the prayer of the minister of the church we went to. I learned a couple of little memorized prayers myself, but I can't say that I ever learned how to pray for me, from me, my own way of praying. I never knew there was a way that I could pray that was my very own way, that was meaningful to me. Over the last couple of years, little bead. Over the last couple of years, as I've been in the licensed teacher training, I've been reading a lot of stuff and going to a lot of classes. And I read about the 5-step prayer, and I read about the 7-step prayer, both of which made sense to me and which I use in their own ways. And recently, I read, and we've had 2 classes here on this book, How to Pray Without Talking to God. This is written by a Unity minister in Texas. And it's really a play on words, because where she goes with this is really how to pray without talking to a God out there. That's really the message. How to pray talking to your own personal God, your own life, which we know we're all an expression of spirit. So I've got that right here. I don't need to pray to some imaginary being somewhere. I've got it right here. In the reading, the Daily Word on Transformation, there was a phrase in there about power. See if I can land my eyes on it.
You're not powerless.
I choose how to respond. I am not powerless. I am not powerless. In fact, quite the opposite. I am powerful. Each of you is powerful beyond measure. The Bible tells us that. I am powerful. Say that with me.
I am powerful.
Now, I am powerful beyond measure with me.
I am powerful beyond measure.
How does that feel?
Good.
Did anybody else get goosebumps? I do. I get goosebumps when I think about me and each one of you being powerful beyond measure. That is huge. Our first song, I am a stand for peace. I am a stand for joy. I am a stand for love. I am making a new world now. We each have the capacity to make our own new world, right? And we do that every day, really. We rebirth our own world every day. And we have the power to contribute to whatever else is going on here. In the community of Payson, at Unity of Payson, in the bigger world. And sometimes we forget that. And that's really what prayer is about, in a nutshell. Remembering you are powerful beyond measure. I am powerful beyond measure. So, start here. You are divine. That's where we start in prayer. Each one of you is divine, period. More and more of the writing coming out of Unity does not refer to your Christ self as some kind of, oh, I have my Christ self, and oh, I have my human self, right? There's still a duality in that. More and more, the contemporary writing is coming out saying, bless you, saying, you know what, you're divine, flat out. You are divine. We don't have to think about 2 parts of us. We are divine. We forget. That's the issue. We forget that we're divine. We forget to go there. We forget to access that. But this is the bottom line. Each one of us is divine. Prayer is not a means of arousing God to action. Aha. What do we think about that? Did anyone else grow up asking God for things? I sure did. Come on, God, pay attention to me. I got something here that I need you to do. Okay. From Eric Butterworth, we read, prayer is not a means of arousing God to action, but the process of waking up from our drowsiness so we can see ourselves. Waking up from our drowsiness. Let me read to you the rest of that quote. Prayer is, knowing that we are created in God's image and likeness. How can we be anything but divine? With the flow of infinite possibilities, eager to come into expression in and through us. Eager to come into expression. Do you ever have an idea, ever have a thought, ever have something bubble up and you go, I just have to do that? That's that eagerness coming through. How many times you go, oh, well, maybe not today. Go away. I don't want to do that right now. I don't want to take the time for that right now. Speaking of taking time for things,
Oh my gosh.
I'll take the time to turn on my microphone. So we have that from Eric Butterworth. On the same vein, listen to this from this book, How to Pray Without Talking to God. Actually, she's quoting Charles Fillmore, one of our founders. It is your mission to express all that you can imagine God to be. Wow. It is your mission to express all that you can imagine God to be. Let this be your standard of achievement. Never lower it, nor allow yourself to be belittled by the cry of sacrilege. You can attain to everything you can imagine. If you can imagine that it is possible to God, it is also possible to you. Because who are we? We are the expression of God, each and every one of us. So that's where we start, with that kind of knowing. This is one of many phrases out of the Bible that talks about us being holy. Do you not know that you are God's temple, and that God's Spirit dwells in you? For God's temple is holy, and that temple you are. Right? How much more clear do we need it said to us? It's right there. I wanted this morning to sing the song, Everything is Holy Now, by John Mayer. But the version I have is by Greg Tamlin, and it goes on for about 5.5 minutes. And I thought, why would I think people might get tired of that? So we'll have to do that some Sunday, even though it's a very long song. But that's the message. Everything is holy now. And sometimes we jump to, well, everything is holy. And I would invite you to stand, to just pull back from that a little bit and not forget that you are holy. That you are holy. Each one of us is that temple and that likeness and that image of the divine. Another quote from Charles Fillmore. This is like around the turn of the century. Okay, this guy did not mince words. We have been so persistently taught that prayer consists in asking God for some human need that we have lost sight of our spiritual identity and have become praying beggars. Whoa! That's sort of a slap upside the head, isn't it? We have become praying beggars because we lose sight of who we are, the power that we have. So I'm going to take this word power and bring it into some other ideas this morning. Power, positive, your intention. Linda Martellowitz goes into a prayer process in this book that really spoke to me because it gets right at that power that you are the point of. Intention. So now I'm going to invite you to take a piece of paper. This is almost a combination workshop message this morning. But this is what I had to do, because this is what came knocking as I prepared this talk. I went, we've got to do this. We've got to do this process so it's real for people. Next, the OW, own it, denials and affirmations, which is at the heart of unity. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. And the E and the R, energy, make it real. And the language Martellowitz uses is your commitments. Okay, so intention. The thing that you plan to do or achieve, an aim or purpose, a determination to act in a certain way, or your resolve. Oops, that's my next one. Okay, so intention. In unity, you might think of this as, and I think I've written this on your paper, your heart's desire, your spiritual intention. So I invite you right now to write something down. Anything that is your heart's desire for your life, for your community, for someone in your life, your heart's desire, your intention. Right now, a heart's desire that I've been trying to work through this process, and I don't quite have it figured out yet, but Shane has come home from school the last couple of weeks asking me the meanings of words that she shouldn't even be saying. Mm-hmm. And these are words she's hearing in the hallway and even in the classroom between kids. And I know I got to do something, and I'm not sure what yet. But so my heart's desire, my intention, has something to do with this issue in the school. but I haven't figured out the exact words of that yet. So same with you. If you don't have your exact words, that's okay. You know, whatever it is that seems to be knocking at you, saying there's something here for me to do. It's not clear to me, but there's something knocking. So your intention, yes, ma'am?
Could yours be to help people love thy neighbor?
It could be. I'm not there yet, that's it. Okay, so we start with your intention, which, using the word power, is the P. It's positive in two ways. So we have two meanings of positive, right? Meaning not negative. Your intention does not start with the word not, right? The intention statement is positive. Something I am being called to do. It's a positive statement. The other meaning we have for positive is sure, right? I'm positive of that. I'm sure of that. So intention is something you're sure of, even if you don't have quite the right word yet, but you're sure of it in your heart. Okay? Then, the next two letters in the word power, O-W, own it, to make it yours. Now, the way we're going to do that this morning is with denials and affirmations. Sharon Connors is a unity minister who wrote a book called How to Pray, and she's quoted in Martella Whitsett's book. Denial erases, dissolves, and releases. Okay, in unity, denial is not a psychological denial. Okay, if my foot hurts, my foot hurts. Okay? Simply saying my foot doesn't hurt is not going to make my foot not hurt. So it's not that kind of denial. It's a denial that says, I don't give any power to it. That's what denial is. I don't give any power to it. Okay, maybe my foot hurts, but what am I going to do anyway? How am I going to prevent it from limiting my enjoyment for this day? And affirmations, which are a little more straightforward, claim, plant, build. Okay, so let's just take a moment here. Affirmation. This is where we start within this whole business about denials and affirmations. You are the point of power in your life. And I started out with that, right? You are the point of power in your life. So denials. These are some ways we can state denials, just to kind of give you a jump start. I give no power to, there is no power in, I withdraw any power I have previously given to. Now, let me give you an example. As I think about the school issue, one of the ideas I often hear around Payson is someone will say something negative about Payson, and the response is, well, it's Payson. Right? So there's a belief in this community that we can't expect the best. That for some reason, we can't expect the best. We expect what's less and go, oh, well, that's how it always goes. So the belief that I need to deny in this process is that. So I could say, I give no power to the assumption that Payson schools cannot be great. Something like that. I give no power, there is no power in the thought that Payson is second rate. Now, the reason we do this is a Charles and Myrtle thing about denials. They said, in order to get rid of this belief, you have to acknowledge you have it. So denial is really a two-step process. The first step being, I have this belief. Or other people have this belief, other people around me have this belief, and it affects me. Acknowledge it. That's the only way you're ever going to get rid of it. Is to name it and then say, now I'm letting this thing go. It is not going to influence my behavior. I give no power to this thought, this belief that other people may hold. Okay, does that make sense? An analogy was told to me once. A denial is like this belief is knocking at the door, right? This old belief. I open the door. I go, hi. Okay, I recognize you. Come on in. Walk through. Open the back door. Right? Bye. You have no power in my life. And that analogy really worked for me because that's what denials are. Okay? So if you can think of some kind of denial that goes with your intention, or jot down something to just a few words. It doesn't have to follow exact form, but this gives you an idea of where to start. And then affirmations. Martella Whitsett goes to affirmations. Every affirmation she has in her book starts with the words, I am. So what I learned in Unity 20, 10, 15 years ago, that an affirmation is, I see, right? I will. But she starts with, I am divine. I am love. I am wisdom. I am life. I am divine discretion.
I am joy.
And how does that play in my intention? So one of my affirmations in my thing I'm working on is, I am divine discretion. Because right now I don't quite know what to do. So I need to affirm with me, I am divine discretion. Because I know it will come to me. So I am divine discretion. Or I am the visible expression of. I claim a life of. If your intention has to do with your own personal life, I claim a life of abundance. I claim a life of peace. I claim a life of joy. Whatever it is that fits in there. This is an example of an affirmation out of her book. I am divine life. Wholeness and wellness are my divine nature. I want to read to you a short passage about intention from this book. When we enter a time of prayer with a particular spiritual intention or heart's desire, how do we perceive divine nature in regard to this subject? For instance, she says, when my intention is to express my talents and skills in a fulfilling job, I consider that divine nature is abundance. So we go to one of those bigger principles, abundance, prosperity, which means there are infinite ways the intention can be fulfilled. Right? Infinite ways it can be fulfilled. I think about divine love as the harmonizing and unifying power and divine wisdom as the discerning power, through both of which I am drawn to possibilities in harmony with my highest intention. I recall the numerous times in my life when my intentions were fulfilled beyond my imagination. So this takes away from us from looking at a specific outcome, right? Because the outcome may be much more wonderful than we could ever imagine and ever put to words. Because she realizes divine nature is intelligence, omniscience, and unity. In my example, she says, of a new job, I recognize that my true desire is not a job, but for a fullness of life that includes being in service. Now, isn't that different than looking at a specific outcome, but asking, why am I looking at that outcome? What's behind it? And for her, it was a fullness of life which included being in service, thriving in all ways and feeling fulfilled. She says, I recognize divine nature is joy. So that circle of coming around to what can be possible in terms of affirmations. Are y'all kind of with me here still? I know I'm asking you to do a lot this morning, but that's just kind of where it is today. So the last two words in the word, last two letters in the word power, E and R. And this is where we give it energy and we make it real. Okay? And this, in Martella Whitsett's word, is commitments. She says, now what are you going to do? You are the expression of God on this planet. You are divine. You are divine wisdom. You are divine love. You are divine joy. Now what are you going to do? And she says, this isn't one thing. 2, 3, 4. She says when she teaches this book, she requires her students to write down 10 commitments. Minimum of 10 commitments. It's like you're having your own little brainstorming session with yourself, right? And you may look at it later and you go, well, no, not that one. But that might trigger something else. That's your commitment, right? Okay, so that is the step. That is what is going to put it on the ground and make it real for you. We've had a couple of workshops recently. Felicia Searcy did one about a month ago, and Charlotte did one last week. And one of the things they left us with, both of them left us with, was, what are you going to do tomorrow to help you realize this dream you envision? Not next week, not next month, tomorrow. Doesn't need, and maybe today even, right? And it doesn't need to be huge. But you know what happens, right? When you take a step on the path, that first step can be the most challenging one. But once you take that first step, that next one is going to come. Because we know about momentum. Inertia is going to keep you planted. But once you take that first step, that is what is going to help you move on the path. Welcome. Come on in. It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
So energy and make it real. So take a minute right now. Write down a couple things that are very, don't make them real hard. Because that's the other thing we know is that first step should be pretty easy. Or you're going to find ways not to do it. Right? We know. So take a minute, see if you can write down a couple of commitments just to get you going. Now, we have several of these. So if you want to take another one of these home with you, because here's what I can almost guarantee, is that this is going to change for you. Once you get down through your commitments, you're going to go back up and look at your intention and go, that's not quite it. That's not quite it. It's one of those iterative processes that goes in circles. In fact, this morning I forgot my intention. My intention, let me borrow your paper a minute, Suzanne, was to give you something that looked like this, that had two sides, so that you would automatically have a blank one to take home with you. But I got ahead of myself, and I want to cut them in half this morning. So I invite you to take another one home. Now, what does this have to do with prayer? Well, there's my commitment slide.
Oh my gosh.
Hanging on, right? Once you're committed and you take that step, and if you know that's your intention, I invite you to hang in there. Ask for support. Let some people around you know what you're doing. You're either in or you're out. There is no such thing as life in between. So if we're not committed to something that's meaningful in our lives, it feels pretty empty, doesn't it? All of us can wake up in the morning and go through one more day. But I think we all know that's really not what gives us energy and what we're here for. So positive, your intention, own it, denials and affirmations, energy and make it real. And that's your commitment. So what does this have to do with prayer? What this has to do for me in prayer is this is what I take to my prayer now. And as I take this into prayer and meditation, which is a very heart of unity as well, that silence, it gets clearer for me every time. If I read through my intention, my denial, my affirmation, and my commitments before I sit in silence, I get more clarity with that each and every time. So this is a process I share with you this morning because it has given me so much more meaning in my own prayer life. And we each pick up what works for us, so I present this to you this morning as an opportunity for something that just might work for you. And we always give thanks, right? I give thanks for all I am. And I invite you to say that to yourself. Whenever you go into prayer and meditation, I give thanks for all that I am. I give thanks for all that everyone is. Because we are it. We are God in expression. And I believe that means a lot of responsibility for each one of us. And we can do that. We can achieve that. So when you want a hero, inquire within. Right? And remember who you are as a divine being. Thank you.